Thank you for joining the IAA's 2015 International Conference Speaker Preview. I'm Shannon Steffi, Senior Editor for Internal Auditor magazine. Joining me is Karen Hill, Director of Internal Audit at Texas Department of Assistive and Rehabilitative Services, who will present Views of Value and Competency, How Stakeholder and Internal Auditor Perspectives Compare, on Tuesday, July 7th, 2015 in Vancouver. Hi, Karen. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. You're welcome. Nice to see you.
In your presentation, you'll be reviewing results of the IAA Research Foundation's research project, Value, Competency, the Stakeholder Perspective. What are some of the highlights from that project?
Absolutely. I think the three highlights have to do with the first one being the competencies that scored the highest were all behavioral. And where I think that's really important is that should really put some focus on how we hire and what we look for when we're hiring new audit staff. The low competencies, the second one is with the lowest competencies. They were both general and technical, but they were all skill-based. And where that's really important is, again, that goes into where are we hiring, but also the other key with that is that none of them are the most important competencies that were identified in core competencies for the internal auditor that Internal Audit put out with the CBOC 2010. And I think the final highlight was that it really validated the value that internal audit adds to the organizations that we serve in the stakeholders' eyes.
Can you talk about some strategies for better aligning internal audit and stakeholder views?
Sure. I think that some of the differences in the views were really more due to differences in expectations and understandings of what internal audit can do. So I really think that when we look at the strategies to really address this, it's really focusing it more towards how do we market the internal audit activity? How do we talk about what can we do? What are we capable of doing? What is our purpose? Okay. And so this can go from, we begin with our marketing, and then we gain support from all levels of management. And really, it'll start with one, but we get that support and really continue to snowball and gain more support. With this, we'll gain more collaborative relationships. I think that as we start working closer with management and they understand what we do, it'll better align things. And then also spend some time training not only internal audit staff on how they communicate or how they work with management, but also train management on how they can best utilize internal audit and get the most value out of the internal audit division.
Were you surprised by any of the highest or lowest rated competencies in the report?
You know, I wasn't so much surprised by the highest or lowest rated competencies. What I was surprised about was the competencies with some of the largest gaps. Okay. And an example of that was some of the largest gaps two of them were in objectivity and judgment. Okay. And I think that, we've got standard 1300. We talk about objectivity, independence. That's really a main standard for internal audit and a key standard. And then we see that that's our largest gap where the stakeholders really rated us lower than we're internal audit. I think the other thing that surprised me was 4 of the 7 competencies that had the largest gaps were actually part of those core competencies that had been identified in that report from the CBOC 2010.
How can audit chiefs best leverage the results of this project?
Well, I think we can do a few things. First off, I think if we take those highest rated competencies and really leverage those to really continue building the trust. Those highest rated competencies, again, are all behavioral, and really work with management to say, look, this is what we can do. This is what you recognize us as being strongest at. So we use that to really continue to build that role as a trusted advisor and a change agent in the agency. I think the other thing they can do is use this to focus the internal audit training. What skills do we need to work on, and really focus what we train our staff on, but then also use that to identify what do we need to recruit. Okay. If we know that we've got the weaker skills in problem solving or problem identification, then really we can focus some of our questions and our interview questions and really build our bench there when it comes to adding to our staff skills. The other thing I think we need to do is use this to really enhance our communications with the stakeholders. And it's not only with how we communicate. But I think as technology goes, we start moving towards more emails and that, and moving less towards that face-to-face, which really I believe impacts the stakeholders' views. So really start looking into, do we need to make sure we have that personal connection still? And then, of course, finally, the business acumen, always having to make sure that we understand what the organization is about and really learn the industry.
What do you feel will be the most important takeaway from your presentation?
I think there will be a couple of things. First off, I think the strategies to improve the audit communication, okay, and other skills that will provide for our visibility. I know that was something that I was really able to look at it in my shop. Was I had really a new group of auditors. And so it was really, how do I get my audit staff out there and visible to management, okay? And then I think the other thing that we could really work on is how do we enhance and build that relationship? And so I think that's the other thing, is really coming up with some strategies on how we're going to connect with management, how we're going to really gain their trust and really get in there to help them improve the organization.
Thank you for your time today, Karen. We'll see you in Vancouver.
All right, thank you. I look forward to it.